All right, good morning and welcome back to the Game Dev Show. I'm here with Pal, Andrew, and Greg. Today we're going to be talking about some of the new AI announcements that Unity just made. I think it's been a little over a week, but I also got a little bit of inside info on what's going on there. And then we'll talk about some game building. I wanted to talk a little bit about the RPG I'm doing. Andrew's got some stuff that he's been working on that I think is kind of interesting with the game modules and his RPG. And then Greg's got some big updates on the Steam page too, right? You got some feedback a couple weeks ago, and I think it'd be interesting to talk about what you've done there to optimize that and see what people can take from that. Before we get started, I've got a couple quick links. Everybody who hasn't seen the new Lava environment should go check it out. It's been less than a month now, right? Like 2-3 weeks? Yeah, and it's...
a little more than 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah, big, beautiful lava environment. If you've seen the Nature Manufacturer stuff, you know they always look awesome, and this one is no different. They're also now up on the Unreal Marketplace, which is super cool, in addition to the Unity Asset Store. And there's one other thing on the Asset Store that I wanted to share before we get going so everybody knows about it, and that was the new bundle that they've got. It's 30 assets for $30. It seems kind of crazy of a deal. If there's anything on there that you actually want and like, for me, there was a couple things on there. One that I wanted to use right away, so I already grabbed it to pull in the dinosaurs because I think I'm going to put them into my RPG. But yeah, go check that out and see all the cool stuff there. And then, finally, birthday sale on my course stuff is still going on through, I think through tomorrow. I might extend it for a couple days because I need to fix some stuff on the webpage. It's been all kinds of broken and giving me some problems. So I might do some updates, extend that out. And then, yeah, I think that was it. Anyway, let's go on. So good morning, everybody, or except for Pal. Not morning. Not because I don't want you to have a good morning, but I know it's a little bit later over there. So yeah.
It's afternoon here too.
Fair enough. Oh yeah, I guess it is now. We're a little bit later, just past noon. Anyway, how's everybody doing today?
Living the dream.
So, have you guys all taken a look at the new AI announcements already? The Muse and Sentis stuff that came out? There have been a couple videos about it.
Yep. Yeah. I Muse, yes. I've Sentis is, I think, a little over my head right now.
Okay, so but you're more excited about Muse. Actually, that's an interesting place I think to start. For everybody in chat, are you more excited about Sentis or Muse? And why don't we go around and just kind of talk about first? Maybe somebody want to give a quick intro to what the differences are. Anybody feel confident in doing that?
I feel fairly confident.
Oh, go for it.
So my understanding, Muse is like ChatGPT. It's chat. You can get your code answers, you can get questions answered, trained on Unity data, I think on documentation basically. So it should be the right answer more often than other services like ChatGPT would be. Should be. But it's an AI, so you have to treat it like a person at the bar and not trust everything it says. Generally, they're going to be good though, I think. And then Sentis, I believe, is like this sort of a back-end system for designing AI systems at runtime as well. So like we've seen all those demos of using ChatGPT or OpenAI essentially to have live conversations with NPCs, but there's a huge delay. A lot of them cut out the delay. You can see it.
Yes, they do. That like 2-second pause or 3-second pause for the call to go out and to be processed. Yeah.
Yeah, but with Sentis, my understanding is this is a system that you can build models that are on the device, so they don't require the internet, which is great, and that they should be a lot faster, I would assume. So you could have the sense of an AI, maybe not quite as powerful as OpenAI. I would imagine, but I really don't know that. But on the device, which is way better. And then you can deploy that not just in talking to NPCs, but in all sorts of different ways, I would imagine.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That was at least my general understanding. Although with Muse, it seems like it's not just going to be code generation. It's code, art, models, and all kinds of other things. Like they showed some I can't remember who I can talk about. They showed some demos of it doing some really cool stuff with you just giving it some text prompts. I don't know if they showed them publicly, so I don't want to say what they were, but it do some really neat stuff. It sounds very much like long-term plan is more holodecky, where you just kind of be like, hey, make an NPC, put this NPC here, give him some logic using Sentis, and you kind of talk to it. Obviously that's going to be quite a ways out, but I mean, this stuff seems to be advancing super fast, so who knows how far out that actually is. But yeah, I saw some really cool demos 2 days ago. I got to dig in and see how much I can talk about on that part though.
I think everyone wants the holodeck. Ever since we saw that in the 90s, we're like, what? That sounds amazing. Let's do that.
Yeah, I guess Muse is like the generation creation part, and then Sentis was that, like you said, the model running locally on the system, so you can have that NPC AI or other stuff. One of the things I was really curious about, and I guess before, I do want to know what you guys are all most excited about, but I don't want to forget this. Are there any systems or setups right now that allow you to do voice replication of somebody else's voice locally live on the system? I know there are some where you can record and do it through their API, and it'll generate out you saying whatever, or whatever the voice is saying, whatever. Do you know if any of them work and run locally, so you can do them at runtime, so you could just have some player record their voice and then have it talk back to them in their voice without hitting a service?
No, but I imagine that is coming in the future. So that would be like a player, like you can say, hey player, say these 18 phrases, and then from now on your voice is in the system.
Yeah, I was thinking, or like you talk to it for a bit and then it talks back. I'm just kind of curious. Oh, okay, Shadow Soul says tortoise. I'm gonna have to check that out, see what that is. Okay, sorry for the distraction. Anyway, so Pal, Greg, what are you guys more excited about? Muse, Sentis?
Now, is Sentis the one that they showed you could do like a backflip on a model?
Yeah. No, that's Muse.
No, that was Muse.
That was Muse.
Yeah, okay. That was all the editor and content generation stuff was Muse, and the runtime stuff was Sentis.
Okay. I'm probably more excited about Muse then.
Yeah, I can see that's probably where most people are, and most people probably don't have a lot of plans or thoughts or needs for actual intelligent AI in their game. I'm sure it's good for some people in some games, and there are probably some use cases Pal's got going on too. I'm curious. So, what about you, Pal? What are you thinking?
I think that I'm more interested in Sentis rather than Muse. But that's because there are lots of tools that are similar to Muse right now. Yeah, I don't know on which data Unity will be training the Muse and what we will be given. Because for me, it's still, as I don't have any access to beta or any internal info, for me, Muse is things that I already saw in different assets. Yeah, and there's lots and lots of these assets, even on Unity Asset Store. I think there's even one on Humble Bundle right now, if I'm remembering correctly, because there's some Humble Bundle from Unity Asset Store right now. Yeah, and so Muse is something I know. Sentis is something more interesting, something that can give interesting additions to new games, but it's not for all games. Yeah, we talked about it, I think, several times, even with Jason Story, the different approaches, and I want to see what Unity does with Sentis and how they approach adding these models on the devices. Yeah, because these models for now are quite big, and so for PC games, okay, but I would want to see if it's possible for mobile games right away.
Yeah. I personally am excited about the Muse chat aspect because I use ChatGPT basically every day now. And ChatGPT 4, I subscribe because the 4 is just better than 3.5. You get better answers. So I'm mostly excited about that, and partly because, like Pavel said, there's a lot of services out there for all of these things coming out. They're just coming out. A writer just came out with their AI beta, so it's really going to be a thing of choose your AI. It's already a thing of choose your AI. Maybe you'll use a couple of them, but nobody's, I think, going to be subscribing to 3 or 4 or 5 different chat AIs at the same time. You're going to choose your favorite that works for your flow, and that's it. The other ones, the animation, and I think they showed the sprite thing. those ones I think I'll be excited for later when they're better. My guess is there's, I saw Sam Yam's video on the animation one. She pointed out the movement in the hand when it's doing a backflip is just like all over the place. So I think we have all this picture in our head of saying, give me a human that does a backflip, add the animation to my character. Now my character can do a backflip, move on with my life. But you're going to have to fix the animation. So until it gets to a point where it can also fix the animation, or if you're okay with fixing the animation, it's not really the greatest solution versus just buying something from the asset store and moving on with your life. Since most of us, I think for most of us, we don't want to actually generate sprites. We don't actually want to generate animations. What we really want to do is make our game. And if there's a roadblock where we need an animation that'll make our game better, we will find the best solution to that. Right now, that solution may or may not be an AI. In the future, it probably will be an AI. So then I'll be excited about that. But for the chat stuff, that's where I'm mostly excited about. I tried Writer for the first time yesterday. I haven't watched your video on it yet, Jason, but I saw the video and I tried it for the first time. And I was very disappointed with it because I had a method up in Writer and I just asked it to explain, I had a class up, 2 methods in the class. I asked it to explain one of them, copy, press the button, explain this. And it said, without having access to the other method, I can't explain more. I'm like, but the other method's right there. It's so please make this connection so that you can automatically see what I'm working on and not need me to tell you. But baby steps.
That's interesting. That's very different than my experience with it. My experience was that I took a lot of things that ChatGPT was kind of messing up and not really successful with generating, threw them at Writer's AI, and it instantly built the correct thing. And for that, it was just like I was doing kind of testing it out to see if it could build a snapping system. I've done this a couple times for the space station thing manually, but this time it's like, I'll see if AI can do it. And ChatGPT consistently failed at getting the objects correctly oriented and in the right position. I gave it to Writer, and the first time it just worked. It just gave me code that worked. It figured out exactly what to do and just did it. So and I started using that going forward, and it was really nice. Plus, I liked there's an insert button that just kind of auto inserted it at the caret. So I got to kind of shortcut it. And I haven't gone through all of the stuff. It looks like they have a new a create with AI assistant option too. I have no idea what that does, but it so far I've only played with it for maybe like an hour or two total, but it seemed quite a bit better for code stuff than GPT-4. But I think that also is probably just because it's very focused on just code and probably just focused on stuff. My guess is it's probably trained on just newer stuff and not a whole bunch of other things. So it knows. I don't really know though.
I assume they're actually using OpenAI, but maybe they've added their own some additional data. I can't imagine they have, built their own.
Or they could have just trained it on just C# learning stuff though, right? They don't need to be trained on the whole internet like OpenAI does, where it knows everything about everything.
Ask it something that has nothing to do with your code and see what it says.
That's a good idea. I wonder, I don't know what.
I haven't done any code generation with it yet because I literally last night I got the beta and I just typed one thing and I got that. But so this weekend I'll be trying more with the code generation. I'm very curious to see. I get good luck with ChatGPT 4. Maybe I'm asking it more basic questions, but usually it works pretty well. But I'm very curious to see if they've got a better outcomes.
Yeah, usually I've seen it work pretty good too, but this time it was just constantly failing. Is something with the logic it was not understanding, and then it gave it to Writer, and it just knew. All right, let's see. I'm gonna before we share this other plugin, I want to ask Writer. Let's do it. Let's do a screen share real quick. What should I ask it?
I don't know. Maybe something about history or science, astronomy.
Okay. Like what?
You can ask it. Can you name all the 9 planets and see if it says, "Hey, there's only 8 planets."
Let's ask it what it can tell us about the planets.
Okay.
Sorry for the confusion. I'm designed to work with software development projects. If you have other questions, yeah, there you go. So yeah, Unity, JetBrains, Rider, and .NET. So that's probably why it's so focused. It's not even on all. Let's see. Do you know PHP? Okay, it does know PHP though. Okay, so I guess it knows all programming stuff. So interesting.
So I wonder. So it's either then trained using OpenAI, but then has strong guardrails, or if they did their own.
Yeah, but I'm interested because if you're programming a game in Unity, you should be able to ask as many questions about biology, solar system, and something like that. Maybe you should structure the question in a way that you're programming solar system and you want some more information about solar system to use.
I think that's a great point, because if you're like, let's say you're coding a time of day system, right? And you're trying to get the lunar orbit right and accurate. If the system only knows about code, it won't be able to tell you, oh, if you want to do maybe it's trained on some articles that talk about lunar orbits. Maybe that's a question. Did you ask that? I can't read it.
It's giving me the data structure. I told it that I needed the list of planets, and it's giving me a data. It told me that it couldn't do it, and then it gave me a data structure with the planets. I assume these distances are probably just not accurate, but I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe. I don't really know. So it did give it to me.
It's OpenAI with some guardrails to try to keep it focused on coding, but that if you get clever, you can get other stuff out of it. But I think there's value in getting the other stuff, because
but from seeing the last part of the message, we can see that it has all the data. It just don't want to showcase it, because the distances here are very just. The actual distances versus planets have elliptical orbits, so it has the knowledge. It just won't show it.
Yeah.
That could be. I'm curious. I want to find out more about this.
Oh, but as an AI developed by OpenAI, you have it in the message. So it told us that it's OpenAI, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Built on GPT-3 with a two-step training process of pre-training and fine-tuning. Oh, I guess we could have just asked it, huh?
Who knew? It's a pretty interesting.
Yeah. Okay, it's like I said, it seems to be pretty good. I've been really enjoying using it for the hour that I used it, and had it generate a bunch of different stuff. And I like the this little button right here. We just go bam and insert it, and it just drops it right in, so I don't have to copy paste from my lazy ass. All right. So, there was a link, Paul, you shared this other asset, right? That where is it? Spark AI.
Yep.
Is this one doing the AI speaking then? I didn't actually look at it.
No, it's for it generates code, it generates shaders, it generates you stories, the AI art, and it also can give you some additional things that it has. It has prepared some information that it is supposed to work as. For example, the generator that generates names, or some prepared information that they have done with the ChatGPT. It mostly uses the OpenAI models.
Okay, interesting. I'm gonna try this one out. Let's add it to cart.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah, it's mostly built in ChatGPT, into Unity, more like OpenAI built into Unity, because you have to use OpenAI API in the background. But from what they are saying and what I'm seeing from the messages, they are working also to integrating some models that you can download on your drive. Yeah.
Oh, so what are you using it for currently?
Mostly for testing and checking the code and some simple shaders if I need something quickly to generate rather than write on my own.
Oh, okay, this looks cool. Yeah, it's got debugging is the other thing I end up using AI stuff for a lot. Just
and it has debugger built into it. Yeah.
And Dustin is saying that if Rider could integrate and infer info from the project, it'd be super helpful. I don't think it does that yet. I asked it just to double check, and it said it didn't. So I'm guessing it probably will eventually, though, and then it will probably start kind of scanning your project. So it would only make sense that it would kind of scan and learn and understand the context of your project.
I think that's that's where it has to go. Like, GitHub Copilot, from what I understand, if you don't have your classes open, it won't know they exist. But if you have them open, it will know they exist, and then it will do more clever things for you and use your other methods, which is great. But I would love to see, of course, the project I'm working on, but I also wanted to kind of see all of my projects that I've been working on and understand some of like the patterns I like to use, or the different things that I like to do. And then it can do things like, I would imagine this is probably in the future, but it can suggest changes to how I do things. Like, hey, did you know that you do this, but a lot of people do this other thing that might be easier? Did you know about that? And I can turn that off if I don't want to get suggestions. So I'm like, screw you, AI. I do not want you telling me what to do. I can turn that off, like Interstellar, where you can turn on and off the snarkiness of the AI. But that it has to happen, right? Because that's where it's valuable already, but the real value comes when it has your entire project there, and it can remind you about things that you've forgotten about. It can just make those connections for you, and then give you suggestions and tips. And holy cow!
Yeah, it's for me just like an extra. It's like pair programming, because I don't have somebody to pair program with. Like, just get an extra set of eyes. I just have to remember to actually use it. It'd be kind of nice. And I assume it's going to be there really soon if it just kind of actively scanned and monitored my code and gave me comments. And like, if I was in Rider, right, and I'm writing code and I finished a method, and there's just like a little notification like, hey, this this error. I got my rubber duckies right here. If it is like, hey, this method doesn't seem to do what the method name says. Are you sure it's correct? I think this is the issue. Kind of like if I had given it to it and said, hey, what does this method do? If it just like gave some notification or some kind of warning if the notification for what the method did versus what it thought I was trying to do were different, that would be really cool, because it'd be like more of a proactive second set of eyes on there. So yeah, right now I use it like that all the time, though. But I also use it to speed up my coding, and occasionally it gives me the wrong thing too. So
you gotta know what you're doing. This is why it's not necessarily the easy button that many people are afraid it's going to be. That'll destroy every coding job, because you still need to know what you're doing. And if you start copying AI code into your project without knowing what it actually does, you will definitely have problems very quick that even the AI won't be able to help you fix.
Sure. You just got to ask it what it does. Say, hey, what does this do? And it'll tell you.
Sometimes you need to say, hey, are you sure this does what I need it to do? And sometimes it'll be like, oh, you're right. It doesn't. Let me change that. Yeah.
Well, Fed's got a question here. You guys want to take this real quick and do a little bit more AI stuff? I also want to get to the RPG things pretty soon. And and the Steam page. Fed said, "Hi all. I'm a game dev with experience for 4 years. I've developed mobile games using Unity and HTML, games with Phaser and Pixie. I've never used that one. Currently, I'm struggling to find a job. Any advice?" I know that I wanted to bring this up because I think the job market's changed in the last year somewhat, at least from the people that I've been talking to. I have been out job hunting, but do you guys think has the market changed drastically recently? Have you seen it with all the layoffs and stuff, or people having a harder time getting jobs, or anything different or new you would recommend nowadays?
I have no idea. This is probably not super helpful to this question, but I've only seen, yes, there's been a lot of layoffs. And then the other day here in the US, there was a report saying that there's a ton of job openings. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing just not in the industries people want. And
I did see something that there's more jobs than there are people to fill the jobs than there are workers.
Yeah. But
are those game dev jobs though?
Exactly. That's where it gets tough.
I think in Poland, I can't say about our market because I didn't check outside. It mostly changed this way that the bigger companies are laying off and searching more for the seniors and better developers rather than juniors on regulars. But lots of indie studios are hiring. Everyone who's going out of AAA studios, etc., is there searching for them as quickly as they can. Yeah. So there's I think the market is changing where people are going right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've seen personally a bit of a cut in the AAAs too. I think that they're probably largely because they're all big corporations with stock and they're doing whatever they can to fix all the stock havoc that's been going on recently and makes them a lot more budget conscious. The smaller companies seem to be a little bit more open, but it is definitely cutting down. One of the things I would make sure that you do when you're looking for this job, though, is whichever job you're applying for, if it's a Unity job, like focus your resume and all of that stuff on the kind of the relevant experience, the stuff that tells them that you're going to be able to get up and running and be active and start right away. Make sure that you've got that kind of stuff right there. I would also probably sprinkle in a little bit of AI stuff if you're using any of it, like if you got Copilot experience or whatever these other things are, because there are going to be some things that might just intrigue them that they're a little bit interested in trying out and getting started with. And if you got some experience with it, it certainly helps. And it also shows that you're kind of proactively looking at what's going on with the market and stuff. Outside of that, work on a good portfolio and I would say try really hard for each position. Don't try for a whole ton of positions. Don't go out and like blast out your resume to hundreds of companies and do a mediocre job. Just pick a couple and do a really good job, and then keep doing that process. Don't mass. I've never liked mass applying for jobs. I don't know about you guys. I always just kind of like pick one that I'm really actually interested in and then apply for that. Mass applying never seems to get you anywhere.
Yeah, I've always heard, and I assume it's true, that when you do apply, try to make your cover letter, et cetera, very specific to the role and the company, and do enough research to know, once you get on the call with the hiring manager, to be able to ask a question or two about the company. So when you get to the interview, you can talk about the company and the team and the product or whatever it is, the service that whatever it is that they do, and you can ask intelligent questions so you can signal to them, one, I've done my homework. I know at least a little bit about this. And two, I'm interested. I'm curious. I want to know more, because in the end, the person who's hiring you wants their life to be made easier by you, right? And they want you to be able to learn and thrive.
Yes, that's typically the case. There are a couple comments in here too. Wiz said, let ChatGPT generate your cover letter. I wouldn't do that, but I would feed it your cover letter. And if you're really stuck and you've never written a cover letter, have it give you some good examples and stuff. Feed it your cover letter and the job description, tell it to give you some advice, let it find the stupid parts where you put the twice and all the other, parts where you probably should just rearrange a sentence or something. Get a little bit of advice from it, and then get some advice from a real person as well. And then Dustin said, dust off or replace last year's resume with all the instances of blockchain with AI. And I wouldn't recommend that for the AI stuff. I really do think it should be, I know you're kidding there too. I really think it should be AI stuff that you find actually useful, that you're using and kind of is helping be productive. If you know of and you're using some AI tools to do audio generation or animation stuff or code stuff or other things, I would just mention those in the skills type section. Don't put it as like your top thing, like I'm an AI expert or whatever. I mean, I guess you could if that's the case and that's the position that you're applying for, but it's probably you don't want to focus too heavily on it. Just loosely mention it.
AI expert at this point still has to be somebody who's designing AIs and working on that side of AIs.
I've watched a lot of videos about it.
Yeah, I'm an expert in using ChatGPT. Like, okay, aren't we all at this point? Yeah, prompt engineer. There you go.
Yeah. So, Rob asked if you think that mostly asset developers will profit on this because of it increasing the number of hobbyists. And here I think it'd be more the being able to generate code and create all that stuff easier. Do you think that's going to help, or is that going to be offset by the other things?
That was his first question with this thread. It was actually a few questions he posted. Was about like, will we see a flood of new games?
Oh, okay. I missed them. So let's go through it at the beginning. Do you think these AI tools, with all those AI tools, the game market will be flooded with games because creating games will become much easier and there will be more people getting a career as an indie developer, or will releasing games as a hobby? In the long term, it becomes more difficult to distinguish yourself as a game dev and earning revenue becomes very hard. So, or do you think that it's going to be mostly good for asset devs because they're going to have lots of new game developers and coming in? And I guess kind of the point of that is that right now the limit or the barrier to become a game developer is somebody's got to learn to code, either writing code or maybe doing it with a visual scripting language. But probably 95 to 99% of the time, somebody on the team has to learn how to write code and do that in a game engine. And if that goes away and it just becomes you talk, and I mean, not everywhere. There's definitely games, but if that goes away and it's more just like you tell it what to do, is that going to flood the market and destroy things, or are we going to be somewhere kind of in between there?
Well, look at what happened when Unity came out, right? The market's been flooded, but now we're used to it. So if people think it's not flooded, the market's, the golden age of cinema or being in Hollywood, an actor, or director, has been now for the past 30 years because it's always getting better. Doesn't mean it's going to go down, but yes, it's going to flood the market, and that's probably okay. I mean, it's very easy to make music, but we don't have necessarily a flooded music market. We just have a lot of music to choose from.
I still listen to the same 10 songs from the 1990s.
I've been listening to the Skyrim soundtrack for the last 8 years and pretty much not much else. But yeah,
still listen to my Tupac.
Yeah, but I don't see it as an issue because I would look at Roblox. I was talking to a kid who just turned 11, my friend's kid, and I was telling him about the what's the pixel battle royale game that's all the the Fortnite. So I was like, "Have you played this?" And he looked at me, he was like, "You can make this in Roblox. Anyone can make this in Roblox." And I'm like, probably not, but
not anyone. Some people can.
Anyone can make games using Roblox because that's what you do. You can make games in Roblox, and of course, Roblox is flooded with, I would say, crappy games. Yet his little brother, who's 7 or 8, almost 8, his favorite game to play is Roblox, where he plays all these crappy games that I do not understand, but he is totally into them, and he just plays them, and he shows his mom, look, I'm jumping over the piece of poop. And it's like, why is there a piece of poop in a dinosaur and then a space alien? But that's the world they live in. And so, yeah, I think the answer is yes, it will be flooded. And I also think a lot of us are going to be like, these aren't games, but we're going to be the old people who are saying, back in my day, you had to walk uphill both ways to make a video game.
Yeah. You guys got some other thoughts on that?
Well, I think the barrier for entry is already pretty low with Unity. And that's why there's so many crappy games out there made in Unity, and kind of gives Unity the bad reputation, right? Oh, they see that made with Unity logo, they think it's probably a crappy game because so many hobbyists, are making games in Unity. But I don't think AI is going to change that equation that much because, like you said, you still need to learn the code. You can't just, despite all the videos that say I made a game in 10 minutes with ChatGPT, it's not a game anybody's going to want to play unless you're Andrew's 7-year-old neighbor. But so I don't think that's going to change too much. I think you still need to know what you're doing, and most of the answers that you get from ChatGPT need some tweaking or modification anyway, and you have to know how to do that. And
do you think that's going to change over like the next 5 or 10 years, though?
I'm sure to get better. I'm just not convinced that the need for somebody who really knows what they're doing is ever going to go away.
Yeah. I think like with most things, they just get more complicated. We fill up the gaps. So, you give good developers the opportunity to spend less time on things that they do so they can spend more time on new things. You give good designers more opportunity to design better, more interesting things. I think over time, like with all our computer, how our computers are super fast, but they're basically as slow as they've ever been, right? Because we always use all the resources available to us. And I think that's what's going to happen here. You're going to get a lot of crap. But really, in the end, you're going to get a whole lot of really new things that are going to make the games of today look like, as someone said, Pong, which is not a fun game, by the way. Pong is a terrible game.
Yeah, this is true. Radiant mentioned it was kind of sad wild how you get the Unreal logo and people tend to get excited, and you get that Unity one and people get the kind of opposite effect. And it's still... do you guys know, does the logo just say made with Unity still, or does it finally say something like made with Unity free so that people know it's like the free version? And
made with Unity, and you can only customize it if you're subscribed.
Yeah, it should say like made with Unity free, it should say like it's the free version and have a link like go make your own game at unity.com. Like, it should be enough that it's very obvious that people that built a game like that, just sort of kind of learning it, and it should be more of like an advertising thing instead of a negative. And then people that don't want that on there will pay the whatever it is to get your pro for the time to build or whatever.
Yeah. I do wonder though, there's a lot of very vocal people talking about asset flipping, talking about the made with Unity games and all that. And I wonder how much of that is the reality and how much of that is just the vocal minority who are very, very, very into it. Like we talk about is it BattleBits? BattleBits, I think it is.
BattleBit, yeah, I think that's it.
Studios assets, and that came out. It came out sometime. I first heard about like 2 days after watching a video that talked about how using Sentis assets is a bad idea because everyone will think it's a flip. And like, come on, like I don't see that, and so I wonder what percentage of the things we hear about low quality Unity or about this other stuff is based on a very small minority.
My guess is it's a small minority of game players that are primarily game developers who like to complain. Not a regular game player isn't going to give two shits that there's a web page called Sentis where you can go buy these models. They'll probably think it's cool, and then they can go do other stuff with them. Like, I'm going to go use these the characters from the game that I like and something. Game developers, I think, are the only ones that are going to talk shit, and game artists be like, oh, they didn't make their own thing or whatever. I'm with you though. I think you should be all for it. And like, I'm building that RPG and it's nothing but assets, like except for like the main character and the primary environment stuff, or part of the primary environment, but it's just loaded up with assets. I'm finding stuff constantly, like every day. Last night I grabbed a pack of, I really wanted a little alien kid, and I'm sure as hell not going to go find somebody to make an alien kid. I don't even know what it looked like, and did a quick search, $10. I found a whole alien family on the asset store and grabbed it. I was like, oh, that's perfect. Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still thinking that it won't change as much as people think. Yeah, because if people want to create a game without coding, they can do it without any problems. Yeah, they can. The easiest, the more difficult way, use visual coding, use Playmaker. I know several now developers, people who were musicians, artists, didn't know how to code anything and didn't write a line of code when they developed a game. They just used Playmaker and released the game and quite a few bugs, and that's not a problem. Yeah, you can use ready systems to create entire games, RPG Maker and so on, that you don't have to write code, and it's already there. Yeah, you have to write code if you want to create something new, if you want to create some new idea, but you have to have a great new idea. Then the writing, then ChatGPT, then all the code generation will help you, but you still have to get this idea and be able to develop it. it will be easier, but it won't be flooding the market. Yeah, because it still needs a team that will work hours changing the code. Because to be truthful, the making game from good game to great game is mostly 5%, last 5% of development, which takes 90% of time, and that's not much code written there. There's only adjustments, small changes that change everything. So for me, this kind of things like now won't change it. If we have a possibility that I'm writing my idea and it generates the game with this idea, then something different. But that's not next 2-3 years.
Yeah, that's gonna be faster then, like 6 months. Okay.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be a little while. And speaking of the AI generated stuff, a couple people asked about the Steam banning. I assume you all saw this. Yeah. And Gregor, I assume you got some thoughts on this too, because you used a little AI in your stuff, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit concerning for me, obviously, because pretty much all the art in Highland Panic is from Midjourney, right?
You want to tell everybody what happened with Steam in case they don't know?
Well, so supposedly there's somebody that posted on Twitter. They had a message from Steam saying that they have to get rid of all the AI generated art in their game. They're going to give them, I don't know, a certain amount of time to remove it, or that their app will be removed from the store. And they did say they would reimburse your, the $100 or whatever if they did that. And so I posted it, to our Discord channel, and the consensus seems to be it's mainly to keep low effort games from getting through, and that a highly polished, fully functional game probably isn't going to run into issues with it. But I'm obviously still nervous. I've never received any notification from Steam about it, and I'm not hiding the fact that the art in my game is generated with Midjourney. So that would be a serious impediment, though, if they said that I can't use that art and I'd have to replace it all.
The poster of that didn't show their game, so we don't see what it is. But they did say something like they were putting it up there just as a placeholder or something, and they didn't even fix the number of fingers in the characters. So my guess is it was pretty obviously really bad AI art. And like all things, it probably doesn't matter if it's good because people don't notice it, right? If it's good, then they just play the game and they're like, it doesn't matter to me where it was made. But if it's really bad, then it's a double whammy of this is a shitty game, and that's got fingers that have 8 fingers on a hand for a human. Obviously, these issues, people are going to be, no player is going to like that. That's just not. So I would love to see the full picture there. But
and I have searched through their policies and stuff, and I don't see anything. It just says you need to have the rights for anything you're putting up there.
Yeah, that's we'll see what happens. I especially with Unity's AI stuff coming out now, that seems like if
that would really slam the door on a lot of developers.
Yeah, or the entire use of AI. So it's like, and then if it's code too, because the same issues with legality on art applies to code. It's not as easy to visualize clearly, but same issue applies. So if we can't use AI code, then developers won't be able to develop anymore, right?
And how many people just copy and paste directly from Reddit or Stack Overflow? Or,
well, that's the philosophy on humans copying is okay, but AI's copying is not okay. Humans can be influenced by a specific artist all they want.
Huh. We just got a super chat I want to take and answer this. I think it's a slight break from AI stuff for a second. About a question from Zuda's World about building a drag and drop builder. And I assume Paul's probably got some good thoughts on this because building so many damn terrain games. You probably built some examples of this quite a few times. I got some too, though. So I'd like to know the best way to build a drag and drop builder for people to build on land they have in my game. So they got, I assume it's like you're building some sort of a top-down strategy type thing, or level, whatever it is, some world building making a little farm or whatever type stuff. You guys, anybody have some initial thoughts or suggestions on this?
Use a grid. That's my first thought.
Okay.
Hey, there's a grid builder in that 30 for 30 bundle, by the way.
Oh, there is one in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Maybe that's why it was on. That was my first thought, is because I have been looking at this.
Because you've been looking at the grid builder in there. Where is that? Yeah, I mean, generally you're going to build it most of the time in some sort of a grid-based system, and then you're going to want to do some detection on that grid for whether or not the object can fit based on the terrain. But it depends a lot on the game. If you can give us a little bit more info on the game type too, I think it'd definitely be helpful. Pa, you got thoughts though?
It depends on the type of game. Does it have grid? Does it have? Yeah, because to be truthful, I would think if I would do it without a grid, I would use some kind of sphere cast to check if the area is big enough with a layer that has only terrain and other buildings around it, or objects that can't be moved from it. Yes, and then sphere casting around it, would give me, is there enough space to put it around there? Yeah. Because if we don't have grid, we can rotate buildings. So we have to have this building there. So you just use a sphere, they cast it down and have and everything. And then just place prefab, and that's it. The simplest solution. If I don't know anything more about the game.
Yeah. Let me find, I did a video about this a long time ago. This video right here, let me screen share real quick. Window, this one right here. Yeah, building I looked a lot younger back then. This is 5 years ago. Okay. I'd have to do something about that. But yeah, anyway, I did this video on building it. It's really, it's not a too complicated thing. What you really got to do is raycast down to the ground, we got an update. It's a world exploring game, open world. I want people to be able to build their own experience. If they want rocks to create, okay, so more open. I'm going to say probably not a grid for this example. Then it would be able to create stuff and jump around.
It still is possible to use grid in this kind of solutions. Yeah, you can make something look like not a grid, but have grid in behind. Yeah, so it's always what you use behind to calculate, because grids, even when you have open world game, and grids help you optimize some stuff for searching and calculating stuff. Yeah, because then you have to do it. But it's so if it's exploring, I want to be able to build it on experience. If they want.
Let's say it's freeform and not a grid example, just as one way to build it. How would you kind of loosely set that up? I've got an idea of how I would kind of build it, but I'm curious if you guys have thoughts on what would you do to get the placement down, the persisting the data, and all that other stuff.
It's not only placement. You see, the rocks can be created in the air, so you can create something that's not on the ground, but it's also hanging somewhere.
Oh, okay. So here, that means there's like a kind of like an in-game gizmos setup, and there's I used one many years ago, but I haven't used one recently. Do you guys know if that's gotten better, or are there some good plugins for that now, or is there a built-in way to do that? To give the players like runtime gizmos for placement to drag things up and down, move them, and scale them and stuff?
I thought there was an asset for that.
There was one.
There's some assets, but from the Unity side and code side, I would just use, I think, physics overlap sphere or overlap box, depending on the object you're replacing. Yeah, to get information about if I can put this object there, and then just showcase the model with some shaded. If I'm building it from bottoms up. Yeah.
Runtime transform gizmos. That's the one I was thinking of. So here, let me screen share this one real quick. Thank you, Andrew. So this would be like for the placing them in the world and moving them around. It gives you the same kind of gizmos that you get. Yeah. Is it not playing, or it is playing and they're just talking? For some reason, Chrome doesn't like to play YouTube videos for me anymore. Yeah, so yeah, you use something like this for the placement if you want to allow them to like float and move things in wildly, because it sounds like you kind of want to make it free form so they can do just kind of about whatever they want in there. Use something like this transform gizmos. I haven't used it in 2 or 3 years at least, but it worked fine before. I think there were some platform restrictions on it back then, but check that out and see if it's any good or see if it works. And then what about for like persisting the game data? You just store off like a list of all your persisted objects and their persistence or something?
Yeah.
And generally the easiest way to go, especially if you're not doing upgrading, you can just store off like the position, rotation, and possibly the scale of all of those things.
Asset you showcased is only smart part of the runtime level design, if you don't know that one.
Oh, I had not seen this one. Runtime level design.
It's the gizmos with entire. I think this is exactly what they wanted. Yeah.
It kind of sounds like it. Yeah. It's so it lets you do level build. Okay, it's like a whole.
So
what?
Yeah,
okay, I gotta add this card. I haven't seen this one before.
it's the same company. Yeah, I saw it several times, but I didn't use it yet.
I've never seen this one before. I've seen the gizmos, but this came
Yeah,
out.
I found it when I found the gizmos.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is definitely cool. Have you used this one, Andrew?
I haven't. I actually know I've seen this one very recently, but I didn't realize when I was watching this video that it was runtime. That this video was at runtime because it looks so much like the editor. That now I realize this menu in the bottom left is likely the in-game menu that they created to make it work. But yeah, that's very interesting. Curious how it works in practice. I imagine that just the keyboard shortcuts and like we're all might be used to in Unity is just replicated. And then saving
it looks really, really cool. I'm gonna drop the link in there. So I was sitting here watching the video and staring at it, but it looks freaking awesome.
Hey Jason, I need to drop off. We got sprint loading starting at work in 5 minutes, and I need a bio break before then. So
understandable. Well, yeah, come back next week. We'll talk about the Steam page stuff. We didn't get to that yet. I totally forgot. I didn't realize we're that short on time.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Cool. All right, good seeing you. We'll see you again next week, hopefully.
Yeah. Bye.
See ya.
All right, we got a couple more questions I want to pop up. Oh, let me get rid of that so our heads get big and Andrew gets nice and tall. And then let me go over. There were a few starred questions. We already answered that one. A couple people asked if we think that AI is going to take over game programmer jobs. I mean, I think it'll happen eventually, but not in the time that you should quit now. I think you should still get into it. It might not take them over, but it will probably change the job a lot where you're doing a lot less typing. But I mean, I think game programmer jobs have consistently changed over time. In the 60s, you're building out these punch cards and writing code on paper and then converting it over. The job is just going to keep morphing and changing, and just got to stay up to date with it. I think it'll eliminate some, it'll open up other ones, and it's definitely something you should take a look at least. You guys got any other thoughts on that?
In the near future, there will be developers who use AI and developers who don't have a job, for the most part. But that everyone should just use AI. Like, it's going to make it better. But it goes back like digital computers with circuit boards destroyed human computers who existed before. That entire job went away. Those people probably didn't go away. They probably didn't become homeless and destitute. They probably got new jobs using digital computers and became better at doing whatever it is they were now doing. So it's just new tools we all have to transition to something better, which hopefully will make our lives better and ruin the mundane parts of a game programmer's job.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think the last thing I really wanted to make sure we got to talk about a little bit was the RPG stuff. So I know you've been working on your RPG. I've been building out mine as much as I can. you got some updates?
My latest update is my Game Modules 4 is very, very close to being shipped. I have gotten to a point where I feel like I could probably put it out now, but I then started my tower defense demo because one, I want to dog food it to make sure. And sure enough, like in the first day of moving the tower defense, I was like, I thought I had done this already, but turns out I hadn't in my other demo, which is an RPG demo of the system. I had basically, I'm trying to make it as automated as possible so that if you inherit your actor from the game module's actor, you don't have to do anything. It automatically does everything for you. And the start actions, there's some stuff that has to happen on start, which I put into my other class that i.e. it's not automated. And I thought I had made it automated, but I hadn't. So now it's automated. So once I get this tower defense thing out, or ready, then that means, okay, I've gone through the flow from start to finish using game modules to make a basic game, and then I can release it. And that will allow me to then go back to Legend of the Stones, my RPG, and update it using Game Modules 4, which is just going to make it a lot easier to create, because Game Modules is basically at its very core, it's a data management system. So you can put in data, it manages that data at runtime to connect all the dots between complex systems so that I can focus on the things that make my game unique, like, damage algorithm that is unique to my game that other games might have if they happen to have the same algorithm, but I'm going to write my algorithm. But I don't want to do the math behind the algorithm, if that makes sense, right? And the complex things, if you equip the Master Sword of Power and that increases your might by 20%, that does the game modules handles that. I don't have to worry about that. All I have to do is saying, when you attack, multiply might by this, and boom, you're done. So that's my job. Game modules does the rest of the heavy lifting. So yeah.
Okay, how much extra stuff with the version 4 do you have to kind of put on top of the game modules? If you just drop it in with a blank project and a blank character, like what do you have there?
You drop it in, you inherit your actor, your actor from Game Modules Actor or Game Modules Inventory Actor if you're using the drag and drop inventory system we have. But if you're doing your own inventory, you're using another asset, just Game Modules Actor, because it works with anything. At that point, when you then press start, the Game Modules Actor will automatically subscribe to the Blackboard. You bring in all our prefabs, the repository prefabs. There's a list of them. So it automatically subscribes to the Blackboard, automatically sets up its stats and its other things. If you might want to, you can, if you want, have a section where you say, okay, start with these stats, start with these stat values. There's many ways of doing that, so you can choose that. You don't have to, though, depending on your game. The system is such where the first time you try to get a stat, if it's not already there, it'll just add it. So you don't really have to add it if it's not something that you need. So for instance, on the UI, I shared a video. Let me try to find that video, or if you have it on hand. But made a demo video showing how to update your UI, so player health, basically, in this tower defense thing. And the player doesn't actually get health before it's called. They just get it when it's called. So before the UI shows the health, the player doesn't have health. But the first thing that happens is the UI shows the health, and that also adds it. So you don't have to do too much, but you can if you want. And you can go as deep as you want. You can use the surface level stuff. It really depends on the game you're working on and your use case. An RPG is probably going to go deeper than a tower defense.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of open to build just about any kind of game, and then adding all that stuff. And then you got the drag and drop inventory system and a couple other optional systems kind of built in too.
Yeah, I plan on doing more systems that are optional, because the whole point, the reason I started this actually was, there's a lot of game systems on the store that are very good. You're using RPG Builder, which is a very good system. I wanted to make an RPG, but I looked at that. I looked at Game Creator, and I just realized that I didn't need all of those things, because I wanted my game to be my game. But what I did want was the stuff I did, that all the behind the scenes stuff, to be easier. And that's why I started the game modules, because I wanted a system that worked with any game type, any game style, that didn't force me to either use a specific system that was pre-built or recreate it or somehow decompile that system in order to make it work differently and then be beholden to any updates they make, etc. So the inventory system is a drag and drop inventory system. I added it because that's the system I'm using for my game, but it's very optional. You don't need it because there's so many. Your inventory system is going to be unique to your game, you know, and if you like mine, then great, use it. If you don't, make your own or use the one from the asset store. Same thing with the movement. I didn't need it to be always top down or always third person or always first person or even RPG, you know, which is why I'm doing a sci-fi tower defense to demonstrate that, okay, yes, you can do RPGs. Yes, you can do tower defenses. At some point, maybe I'll make a collectible card game demo because really you can do anything with this. It's your game. Any game can be made with this. So.
Kind of like a game engine, right?
I like that. It just takes a lot of the stuff that are very common to most games and allows it to be more easily automated in the back end.
Nice. Yeah, well, I'm excited to try it out. I haven't had a chance to play with the latest version in a little while, so it'd be really cool once I finish this game up. And it may actually be a better fit for what I wanted to do with this game than RPG Builder. I'm not completely sure. So far, though, I've been really enjoying it because I've been using RPG Builder to put together this sci-fi game, and it just a lot of the things just are there for me automatically. So not having to go in and create or add in an inventory system or go add in a dialogue system and movement system. Although I am swapping out the dialogue system. I'm going to use dialogue for Unity. I'm 95% sure I'm going to do that. I ran into one problem when I tried the integration the first time, but I think that that system just seems like it has a lot more stuff to it that I can do. So as long as that integration works well, I'm going to make that switch. But I've been finding that like using this has been great because I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here, got a lot of systems in with very few hours of actual work. Like any one of these systems that are in here already probably could have taken just as much time as all of the game stuff that I've got so far. And I don't have a whole lot of gameplay, but I've got, a good 5 minutes worth so far and the plan for a whole lot more coming up really soon. So,
yeah, the big thing for me is just always move forward. I want to move on. I don't want to get bogged down doing some side thing. I want to move on with the main game, And so if I have to build a side system to support the main game, I don't feel like I'm making my game. I feel like I'm doing something else that I need to do first. Okay, let me just get this out of the way. And that's not as fun. So, yeah,
it looks like Bill here said that the dialogue system works great and makes the system a lot richer and it's easy to get working. That's kind of what I expected. I just ran into an issue where I couldn't assign the right dialogues for some reason. I think I messed something up and I just reverted. I need to go pull it back in and get that fixed up. And then let's see, there was one other question up here I was going to pop up about design stuff. I don't have a good answer for this, so it might be better to come back next week and re-ask the question, but they're wondering what a good resource was for game design. Oh, Paul's got a great one right here already, so let's pop that up. What's this one?
The first one is books. Yeah, there are great game design books that I would suggest. I found this website. I always give it to people that ask about game design because there are quite few interesting books there. There's Art of Game Design, a Book of Letters. If you scroll down, that are the books. There's a Level Up, which is a great book. There's Theory of Fun Game Design. And I would suggest this is one of the things that if you are starting as game designer and want to learn, then I would suggest us starting with them. Yeah, Jason's story is also a good person to look for. And second one, I suggest looking at two people. One is Will Wright. He has master classes, or read a book from Sid Meier memoir. From the books I read from people that create games, I found these two as the biggest ones that can help you on your journey as a game designer.
.com so I can read it. Here we go.
Yeah, the Sid Meier is also on Audible as audiobook. Yes, so you can just listen to it. But it's better to read the book as it has some images and show samples that you can use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab the audiobook because then I'll actually get through it. I love audiobooks.
It's biography, but he showcases how he thinks about the design, how he created this civilization, how he worked on the layout Ticon, etc., etc. How from where he gets the design ideas and how he approaches them.
Right.
So it's a great book for me. One of the better I read about game development.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that one out. And yeah, I'm looking at this book list. Got that. Don't have that. Got that. Don't. Yeah, there's okay. I've got half the books on the list. This was the tab. Just going through and looking. So I have about half of them. Probably need to grab the other ones. This one I got the little cards around here somewhere.
Yeah,
too.
I also have the cards. I would start from the art of game design, and try doing some simple game designs. I would start from board game designs with this book. Create some simple board games, play with your friends, and try to use ideas from this book to quickly iterate your ideas.
I think that's some great advice. All right, Andrew, you got any others?
No, these are great.
Sweet.
This is Pavel. That's my advice.
All right. Well, you guys got anything else you wanted to chat about or share before we wrap up?
No, I should be doing some streaming. So, Jason, you posted a link to that video. That's my YouTube. You can also get there from infinityvr.com. I might be streaming tonight, later today, after the day job ends. Certainly this weekend, I want to do some more streaming. So if you're interested in watching me banter while I work with the AI to build my stuff, then come join.
Well, before we go, there was one other thing. I forgot we were going to talk about the certifications. Well, you got 5 more minutes to talk about certifications. And before we start, what does everybody think about? I would say just general tech certifications or game dev certifications. I'm very curious what everybody's kind of general thoughts are on the concept. So, but yeah, let's pop up the Unity certifications page as a starting point. So we'll share this tab, pop it right up, and yeah. So thoughts, Pal? What was it that made you want to talk about this today?
Because today I just been certified as Unity professional programmer. I've done that because Unity has a program that's called Unity Certified Instructors for people that want to teach Unity to others and help others develop. Yes. I'm doing it because I'm part of this program, I think, from before it's even started in Unity, when I was more focused on teaching people rather than creating assets. And one part of this program is you have to be certified on professional or expert level. I chose professional as it's easier and quicker to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So I just finished it, and I so much don't like certifications that I wanted to talk and see what other people think about them. I had done so many certifications in my life that were required for me, so I really don't like doing them. But I will tell you why when I hear your thoughts about certifications.
All right. Well, Andrew, do you want to start, or you want me to jump in?
I got certified with Unity way back when the first certification thing came out, and
yeah, I was too.
Yeah, and my initial thought was, oh, that was easy. So it was a little easier. I think these newer ones are probably more advanced. But
the one that you took was on the yellow one, because it was the first one. It was the Unity certified user.
Developer.
Yeah, it was the developer. Now it's spread into certified user, programmer.
Well, there's the associate one too. That's probably the one.
The one I took was not.
The associate is second level. It was beginner level. The one higher. If you scroll up, it was the user.
I think at the time there was only one, so I don't know if it really morphed into one of these or was just replaced. My guess is it was replaced.
It was replaced. I would say the one that we took, the first one, because I took it in the mock-up after. Yeah, something like that. So it was in the middle between certified associate and certified user. So between the two first ones. higher. Yeah, because it's between the user, because user is high school and I would study, say, the associate is someone who works for a year or 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the existing one turned into this associate one and just got updated. And I'm pretty sure that because I think that was one where I was there in the meetings when it was happening and helping with some of the questions on it. I vaguely remember doing that on that one, and then I also get to do a little bit on the programmer one, mostly just like error checking, and I think it might have done like 1 or 2 questions for it. I can't remember. They were like question updates from an old version of it. But yeah, personally, before working on the certifications at all, I was never really big into them. I never really got many certifications or cared too much about them because I didn't find them very useful. And I'd found that in the past, a lot of the people on the professional certifications would be certified in stuff that they didn't understand at all because it had turned into essentially a game of like pay for this test and then pay a couple $100 for this study material and then you get the certification. And it was like cheat guides to get you through this stuff. With the Unity ones, after seeing the content and the process for it, I do like that it has some value, that it kind of shows that people know some base level stuff, but I don't know after with COVID and stuff if it's been updated or like constantly maintained or anything, or if it's just kind of been like the same stuff and it's running against largely old things. I know that the last time I worked on it, it was just kind of an update for one, and it wasn't like a full rewrite. It was just like finding the things that needed some stuff. But that was again years and years ago. So they probably need update. And I'm guessing that it's probably like that with all certifications, that like the process and the timeline for all that stuff is so slow and the turnaround is so slow. They go through all that stuff that by the time the stuff comes out, it's hard to stay updated, and then after a year, it's way out of date, and then you got to go back through the whole thing again. One of the hard parts with working on that stuff was writing questions that weren't going to go out of date, like trying to avoid writing anything that mentioned anything about the UI, because those things are probably going to move, and can be very careful with the naming because things are going to get constantly renamed and shit. So yeah, it certainly makes it difficult, but it does. I'd say that if you don't know how to code it all, you're not going to pass the more advanced ones, right? Like you're gonna the basic one you can get through, I think, with very little to no knowledge. The other ones, without either studying heavily or knowing how to code, you're probably not going to get through. So they can at the very least be kind of a baseline level. But it's never been something that I've been like, oh yeah, I care about them having certifications or not. Even after working on them, like if they have a certification, whatever, it doesn't really make a difference to me.
Makes sense. I think there's probably some value in some
or HR hiring managers and getting past people if you don't have prior experience, especially. Or probably, you said you're doing it for teaching stuff, right, Paul?
Yeah, but I'm mostly for teaching. Because for the Unity certified instructor, you need to have the showcase that you know Unity. Yeah. Andy, did you have anything more to say, or can I start my? Okay. Unfortunately for me, I haven't seen certification that showcases you know something. For me, I haven't seen this kind of certification yet. The certification, especially the Unity one, showcases that you can pass the certification and that you learned how to pass this kind of certification. Yeah, because one thing is that it's not updated. I have really seen, for example, the questions, the practice test that you can buy to learn to this certification still showcases how to use OnGUI, and then OnGUI is quite a good solution for showcasing GUI in Unity. Yeah, so this is one simple showcase. The second one is that I would agree that on a user and I would say associate level, it's okay. On professional and expert, for me, this kind of tests that just showcase you part of code and which function should you use in this part of code, and you have one function. So for example, we want to lerp something from place to place using some ease in and ease out, and you have the answer move towards, lerp, and smooth dump. Yeah, these are the functions that you have in Unity. On user and associate level, on beginner and regular, I would say, okay, use smooth dump is easy function that you can use. Yeah, on professional and expert level, I would say use your own function that you can control and that you know how it behaves, because smooth dump uses one function that I think it's 2nd level function or 3rd level function, and you mostly want to know and won't be able to accommodate it exactly as you want. Yeah, but the certification needs you to use the same function that Unity says it's best for this showcase. Yeah. But a person that's on the professional level or even expert level, so seniors, you shouldn't say them that you have to use this kind of function. And there's many places in Unity in this certification when you have to know that Unity wants you to use this function. Not that it's the best choice, because the programmers on higher level will try to think why I use this function. Mostly when I'm doing easing in, easing out, the simplest example, I'm building my own function depending on what I want to do. Yeah, will it be from sign-in functions, from from high level functions, or something different? I choose depending on the use case, not getting the one that Unity gives me because it's not this level. Yeah.
Did you find that most of the questions were like that, or was that just like some subset?
I would say 50% of the questions. Other 50, then that's 30% of questions. That's you have to remember which function has which parameters and where you have to use this function. So it's more questions that remember the entire documentation, and we will ask you from documentation just simple short questions from the documentation. Yeah. So for example, in unit tests, you have to use this interface in this case, and in this case you have to use this interface because it has this value in it. Yeah.
Right.
So it's remembering, not using. So for me, this is the problem with professional and expert levels, that there are some cases, for example, as I said, it about 20% that are just how you use Unity and how you do it. And there are questions without a code, without things like that, that give you how you think. Yeah. And have you had these problems before, and you know how to acknowledge them and use them? They are great questions, and they should be more. But the questions that one is making you use something that you know you don't use on this level of knowledge because you have your own written APIs, or you know there are better APIs than the built-in, then this is a problem. And second, if you ask a question from documentation and you have to get someone that's just remembering documentation, yeah, and that's for me the problem, because it doesn't showcase you the level of question. When I'm doing HR and I'm checking people for the professional or senior level, or I'm teaching people, because I'm also teaching seniors in Unity, you're Jason also. I'm not giving them, go to the documentation, remember these 2 pages of documentation if you want to be a senior, because
that's what you have to do. You have to get all the books and memorize them.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's my biggest problem with this kind of certification, and I seen it not only in Unity. It's not for Unity. Yeah, I saw them in Microsoft. I saw them in when I was QA, and so on and so on. Yeah, I had so many certifications. Mostly looked like that on the higher level, and on the lower level, okay. On higher level, nope.
Yeah. No, I know. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about it, so I won't go too deep. But I know part of that is probably just from the process of writing questions and the splitting up and everybody coming up with stuff. I feel like when you're having a hard time, you don't have a good question, it's very easy to just start digging through the documentation and find something that feels like a good question because it's a problem that you recently had to search for the answer for and find, and then it kind of turns into a question. I probably did that myself on one or two of the associate ones at the very least. But yeah, that's a good point because it is a lot of memorizing, and a lot of that stuff changes too. So like you memorize it, and then the API has changed. So since that's based on Unity 2020, so
I know it's hard to create this kind of certification, but when I was on studies, my professor gave us, gave us two options. You can pass the exam with all the books, all the writings, notepads you have prepared, or you can pass them without it. And there were two differences. The one, when you took the books, you have questions that you had to think.
Mhm.
The second one was just writing, half of the exam was writing from memory what's in the books. And for me, this is the difference that should the professional expert level be, is you should be able to have all the API, all the docs that Unity gives you, and the questions should be this way that you won't have to go into this API on books. One, you won't have time. Second, they won't help you because you will have to think of solution rather than just writing some questions from them.
That makes a lot of sense. I like those bigger. I like project-based tests and quizzes and stuff. Just go make this thing. Did you understand the concept? Can you do the job? Because that's like it's a much better indicator. But it's also not easy to scale. So I totally get it. Yeah, I wonder what's going on with these certs though. If they're going to be updating them, doing more, or if maybe they're already in the works. I have no idea.
From what I know, they are updating them. They're working on them. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't been in contact with their cert team for a while.
Yeah, I'm trying to contact them a little more to also help something, but think of something different for them. Yeah.
So there was one other thing that this reminded me of that I wanted to just really quickly pick you guys' brains about, and then let everybody go finish up their day. I was thinking it would be really cool to make like this is going to sound ridiculous, but to make like a game programming program for like college kids at a local college or something. It just taught you how to make games in 6 months or a year from beginning to end, or maybe like at the high school level or something like that, where kids can just kind of get. I got another kid that's getting close to the end of high school, and there's really not a lot of options for getting into development and programming stuff. I mean, there are a couple, but not a lot that are close, and none that are really game dev related. So I was thinking that could be like something really interesting and neat, but it's just a loose idea in my head. You guys got any experience with this kind of stuff or thoughts on it?
To be truthful, I prefer teaching kids in school, high school, because and mostly I'm joining the UCI program because they allowed us to teach kids and high school kids now as Unity trainers. Yes, so yeah, for me it's very hard to find some good programs for high school or beginners of studies. Yeah, so it's hard to find something. I think after years of searching, I found one book, but it's only in Polish. I don't know if it's in English also. I will try to search for it because it's in Polish. It is Unity Start Programming for Teenagers, and it's one of the better books that showcases for kids how to program the books. It's mostly from 10-year-olds up to 16-year-olds.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of fun teaching young kids and just kind of getting them, making it something available. I think would be cool. Bill mentioned that a lot of universities have some of these programs. I know there are some that exist. There's definitely none near me, and I feel like there's not that many of them out there. It'd be cool to make. I feel like you can make something that was condensed where a kid could go from little to no programming experience to employable in a year. If it was just focused on the programming stuff and you're not doing all these other things and just going, step by step, like we're going to work on these things for these 2 months, and then the next 2 months, after six sections of that, I feel like you could probably knock out enough to be able to be employable as a junior programmer. I don't know. I just feel like it'd be interesting. It'd be like a fast, easy way to learn stuff.
Yeah.
Again, I'm probably just crazy, but
no, I think it's good. The challenge with these things are really just, I think, making a one size fits all scenario in an industry where it's very easy for somebody to go off and start teaching themselves. I would assume you really need to teach the foundational things, like that you won't necessarily get from YouTube tutorials all the time, or hey, make a tower defense game now, just do this done, and you realize later, oh shoot, I shouldn't have done it like that. That's the problem with a lot of YouTube tutorials. So it's very easy for somebody who wants to skip ahead to learn things that maybe are in the wrong order or something, and then at the same time, it can be very boring for people who are like, I want to make a game, but this isn't what I wanted. I didn't want to work on this stuff. I wanted to make a game, not learn the fundamentals of, programming. So it's challenging to, I think, make a one size fits all course, but otherwise I think it's a great idea because it makes sense to be in that sort of situation as a learner for motivation and other things. So.
Yeah, I feel like you could make it project based and have people learning the fundamentals while they're building games at the same time, and kind of doing that together and keeping it interesting. But Christina mentioned that at her school they tried to do something like that, but the interest was too small. They had 2 to 5 kids per class. That's interesting. I'm really curious. I wonder if there is a lack of demand because people don't see the jobs. I don't know. I'm going to do like a survey. I'm kind of curious. Go ahead.
In my idea, I think there are, for development, not only game development, but for development, there are, I think, 10 different summer courses that are just full of people, and for game dev there's about 5 in the area. Most of them are using Roblox, using I think there's one in Unity, and there's one in the Minecraft, and creating mods and creating games with Minecraft in mind.
Oh yeah. There's some of those around here too, but I feel like what I haven't seen are any that can prepare you to actually get a job, at the end, where they're like more like kind of like a trade school almost, where they teach you, how to weld or how to do any other job, but just teaching you how to write game code,
Yeah, exactly.
Or code in general, but with game engines, so writing visual graphical code.
I think Unity tried something like that with the Unity Playground here, but I don't see it doing anything more with it right now. But they updated it 2 months ago. That's a big change.
I think it would be interesting. Looking through the comments, they're going to do game design, but they're having to do programming, trying to create a basics of game dev art. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, so I don't know. It's on my list of stuff I want to look into and kind of find out a little bit more about. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, but I would agree with the Tech Dave 99 that there aren't many that are truly game design focused courses. Yeah, most of them is programming and stuff like that. There's a few that focus on game design.
It's interesting. That's an interesting comment, because the reality is you're not going to indie developers, sure, but mostly you get into studio and you don't do everything. So you don't really need to know everything. You need to specialize in something. It reminds me of there's music schools. I'm sure you've got them all over, where instead of teaching you how to play guitar, they put you in a band, and you learn with other people how to play in a band while you learn how to play guitar or drums or sing or whatever. And so you're getting what you really want is to be in a band, and so you're getting that experience while learning your specialty. So I wonder if it would make sense to have a situation where you say, okay, what do you want to do with the game? Do you want to do the programming? Do you want to do the business stuff? Do you want to do the art, the sound, and then bring people together in a sort of a mastery group of learners where you all work together and feed off each other and learn your expertise while building something that is bigger than what you would have done by yourself.
Yeah, I like that. They're kind of coming together. And a lot of the game schools that I have seen that are kind of big and successful kind of do that. They put people into a team and they're all doing the different parts kind of together and making games. And those seem to work really well where they've got different people doing different stuff and combining those skills and seeing what it's like to work with all those different departments and stuff. So I think there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, one thing that I just remembered, in Poland, many big companies like CD Projekt Red or I think 11 Bits, they are going into schools and training high schoolers mostly to how to develop games. They have several programs that where they are searching for people that are kids that are interested in game development, and they help them create games.
Oh.
And there they are focusing on different aspects, because they are not mostly focused on design rather than programming.
That sounds interesting. Oh, let me share this one. What's this one, Andrew? Oh, this is the new Happy Harvest that just came out.
Yeah, it just came out like 2 days ago. And so it's 2D. I don't know if there's a learn course attached to it. It might be, but yeah, I saw it, so I figured.
Yeah, this was like a 2D URP demo game that you could download, and it had like, I think, a lot of documentation. There's a blog post for it somewhere. It had a bunch of documentation explaining how things were put together. Is it this one right here? Yeah. Announcement post. That one's, probably worth checking out too, especially building anything in URP. Drop a link for that in chat. I forgot about that one. I was going to do maybe a little video about that and talk about, did it share that tab? No, share this tab instead. There we go. Not sharing the right thing. Nobody could see what I was talking about. Nice. All right. Well, there's 2 quick questions I want to take, and then I'm going to really go. First one was, is there still a disparity between game dev and software dev salaries? I would say yes, probably around 20%. If you were going to make 100K as a software dev, it'd probably be around 120 or 120. 100 as a game dev, probably be around like 120 as a software dev. That's not to say that you can't make more as a game dev. You just have to be slightly higher up the food chain or slightly better at negotiating the general. But you can also be a software dev and be making way less than a game dev too. It depends a lot on the place you're working, how good you are at negotiating, and what job you actually take. I mean, I know a lot of programmers who've been doing the same programming job and make less than $50,000 a year because they've stayed at places where the pay is terrible, and that's just what they chose to do. And I've know lots of game devs that make many hundreds of thousands a year on their games, especially when the games get super successful. So yeah, I would say there's some disparity, but I wouldn't let that be the determining factor at all. And it's very easy to go from game dev into enterprise enterprise stuff. Drastically simpler to make that switch. And then the other question was on AAA games, who develops the actual game mechanics, a gameplay programmer or a gameplay designer? Anybody want to answer this one?
I'm going to guess the designer, but I don't know.
I'm going to say both.
It depends what it means to develop. The one who says how it should be, or the one that writes the code for it. Yeah, because these are 2 different things and 2 different aspects of that developing a game mechanic.
Well, and it depends how much of it actually required code versus was kind of already built up, and then the designer built it on top. I've seen sometimes where like a designer takes the built-in tools and then is able to make whole new systems on top of it. Usually what happens though is like the designer comes up with an idea for a system, the programmer does kind of the core part to give them the building blocks to build on top of it, and then they build stuff on top of it. Sometimes it's the opposite though, and they just say like, hey, make this, and the programmer does the entire thing. But yeah, it varies in between. So it's some combination of the 2.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, okay. For real, any last words now, or you guys ready to head out and go do other things?
Just kidding.
get productive. All right. Yeah. If this is helpful, you guys enjoyed it, please tap the thumbs up, hit subscribe, drop a comment afterwards. Andrew's going to do some streaming later. I think I'll probably do some game dev streaming in a little bit. I've got a couple more things to catch up on. And I think a couple other meetings real quick. But after that, if I get some time to do that as well. Other than that, I wanted to just briefly mention, go check out that sale. They got that 30 for 30. And I got that birthday sale going on for at least another day, maybe a couple more days, but probably just another day. And then, go grab the, if you're using Unreal, Nature Manufacture. I'm terrible at finding this. Nature Manufacture stuff's on there, up on the Unreal Marketplace, and go grab that as well, or the new lava kit.
And the Unreal things are 50% on sale.
Oh, the Unreal ones are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. I didn't realize that. I would have put the little 50% off marker right there. All right, cool. Well, I guess we'll get going, and we will see you next week. Oh, one last thing. End of next month, we're going to do that AI conference. It's free. There's free tickets available. There's a link in the description. Just go look in the description. Go grab the free ticket. Get signed up. We need to get a good idea of how many people are coming to figure out, make sure the platform is all ready for it. So if you want to come, just go grab your free ticket in the description. It'd be game dev AI stuff. Just learning about that stuff for all the new things. All right. I'm going to shut up now and say goodbye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.